The morning sun shone softly over Karachi International Airport. A light breeze swept across the runway as Flight PK 907 prepared for takeoff to Istanbul. Passengers were boarding, some smiling, some sleepy, and some nervous. Among the cabin crew stood Ayesha Malik, a 24-year-old flight attendant known for her calm nature and confident smile. Her sharp eyes missed nothing, and her steady voice could soothe even the most frightened passenger. But deep inside, Ayesha carried a secret dream. She had always wanted to be a pilot. Her father once told her, "Girls don't fly planes." So she chose to fly differently, serving inside the aircraft she once dreamed of commanding. As the doors closed and the engines began to roar, Ayesha took a deep breath, looked out at the sky, and whispered softly to herself, "One day, I'll hold those controls." The aircraft taxied down the runway, gaining speed until it lifted smoothly into the bright morning sky. Karachi grew smaller below them. Passengers clapped as the plane climbed higher. Everything was peaceful. Ayesha moved through the aisles with her usual grace, checking seatbelts, offering smiles, and handing out coffee. She noticed a little girl clutching her teddy bear, trembling slightly. Ayesha knelt beside her and said gently, "Don't be afraid, sweetheart. The sky is our friend." The girl smiled weakly. Inside the cockpit, Captain Revan, a 52-year-old veteran pilot, and his co-pilot Naveed were discussing the route. Everything was routine until suddenly a sharp alarm cut through the calm. Beep, 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 beep. Engine 1 pressure dropping, Naveed reported. Captain Riemann adjusted the lever, his face tightening. "It's fine, just a minor glitch." But a moment later his hands slipped from the control. He gasped for breath, clutching his chest. Sir? Captain!" Naveed shouted, panic rising in his voice. Riemann slumped in his seat, motionless. "Mayday, mayday!" Naveed yelled into the radio. Into the radio? "Hey, Captain down. Possible heart attack." The plane jolted violently. Passengers screamed as oxygen masks fell from the ceiling. Hearing the chaos, Ayesha rushed to the cockpit. When she opened the door, her blood ran cold. The captain was unconscious, and the co-pilot's hands were trembling on the controls. "What happened?" she cried. "Heart attack. Heart?" Naveed said, voice shaking. "And the autopilot just failed. I'm losing control." The plane tilted sharply. Alarms blared. Coffee spilled across the cockpit floor. For a split second, Ayesha froze. Her heart pounded in her ears. Then something inside her clicked. Calm, sharp, determined. "I've trained for emergencies," she said quickly. "I know basic flight control. Let me help." "You're a flight attendant," Naveed shouted. "I'm also your only chance right now." Ayesha snapped back, gripping the joystick. Trust me." She slid into the captain's seat, hands trembling slightly, and scanned the instruments. Altitude was dropping fast. She adjusted the throttle and tried to stabilize the nose. "Trust the instruments. Not your fear," she whispered to herself. Words from her flight training days. The plane steadied slightly. The screaming in the cabin softened into whimpers. Ayesha grabbed the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, this is your crew speaking. Please remain calm and fasten your seatbelts. Everything is under control." Her voice was steady, but her heart was racing. "Pilot's dead," Naveed muttered. Ayesha grabbed the radio. "A control tower, this is Flight PK 907. Captain down with heart attack. We are losing altitude." A pause. Then a calm voice replied, "Who is flying the plane?" "This is Flight Attendant Ayesha Malik. I'm taking manual control." Silence for a moment. Then the tower operator spoke firmly. "Copy that. You can do this. Maintain heading 240. We'll guide you." Thunder rolled outside. The plane entered thick clouds, rain battering the windows. Lightning flashed, blinding for a second. "We can't fly through this storm," Naveed shouted. Aisha's voice was calm, but her eyes blazed with resolve. "We have no choice. Everyone's life depends on us." She held the joystick tighter, her knuckles white. The aircraft rocked violently, but she didn't flinch. For 10 endless minutes, she fought the storm, trusting her instinct more than the shaking dials. When they finally broke through the clouds, the sky opened into a breathtaking calm. The altimeter leveled out. The passengers were silent. Naveed turned toward her, his voice trembling with awe. "You just saved us." Ayesha exhaled deeply, hands still on the controls. "Not yet," she said softly. "We still have to land." The plane was finally steady, but the danger was far from over. Engine 1 still showed low pressure, and the weather radar flashed red. Another storm front was forming directly ahead. Ayesha tightened her seatbelt and turned to Naveed. "You stay on the radio. I'll handle the controls. Naveed looked pale. You're not a licensed pilot, Ayesha. Her voice was calm, steel beneath silk. Right now, I'm the only one who can keep this plane in the sky. She grabbed the headset and spoke into the radio. A control tower, this is PK 907. Engine 1 is failing. Captain unconscious. Request emergency landing clearance. The tower responded quickly, a copy PK 907. Runway 2L is clear. You're 70 miles out. Maintain altitude and stay calm. Easier said than done. Outside, the clouds grew darker, swirling violently. The aircraft shuddered as lightning lit up the sky like a camera flash. Passengers screamed. Somewhere in the cabin, a child cried. Ayesha picked up the intercom. Her voice came out strong, confident, unwavering. Ladies and gentlemen, please tighten your seatbelts and remain calm. We're heading back safely. Trust me. Her tone was so firm, so assured that for a brief moment silence filled the cabin. Then, boom! A thunderclap shook the plane. The left engine indicators blinked red. Left engine's gone, Naveed shouted. We're losing thrust. Ayesha didn't panic. She adjusted the throttle carefully. We'll fly on one engine, she said. We can still make it. The tower's voice crackled in her headset. Ayesha, strong crosswinds from the west. You'll need to descend manually. She nodded to herself. All right, let's bring this bird home. Raindrops lashed the windshield like bullets. The entire cockpit rattled as turbulence hit them again. But Ayesha's hands were steady. She guided the aircraft through the storm, eyes darting between the horizon and the instrument panel. A flaps 20 degrees, Naveed called. A flaps 20, landing gear ready, she replied, her voice calm. Far ahead, faint through the rain, the runway lights appeared, like a trail of hope cutting through the darkness. The tower came on. PK 907, you are cleared to land. Fire and rescue are on standby. Ayesha took one deep breath, whispered softly, Yikila, please let them all live. Altitude dropped, 3,000 feet, 2,000, 1,000. The crosswind slammed into the plane, tilting it dangerously. Naveed shouted, You're coming in too fast? I know, she said quietly. Oh, but I can do this. The runway rushed toward them. She pulled the throttle down. Thud! The wheels struck the ground hard. The aircraft bounced once, then screeched as it slid across the wet runway. Oxygen masks swung wildly. Passengers screamed. And then, silence. The plane slowed, and finally stopped. For a heartbeat, no one moved. Then cheers erupted. People cried, hugged, prayed aloud. The little girl from earlier clapped, tears in her eyes. Ayesha leaned back, hands trembling, eyes full of tears. Naveed whispered, You did it. You actually did it. The tower's voice came softly through the radio. PK 907, you're safe on the ground. Incredible job, Ayesha. You just saved 180 lives. Ambulance teams rushed aboard to help the captain. Passengers slowly disembarked, each one stopping to thank the young woman who had just done the impossible. That same little girl from earlier ran up and hugged Ayesha tightly. You're my superhero, she said, smiling through tears. Ayesha knelt, her own eyes glistening. No, sweetheart. I'm just someone who didn't give up. By evening, every news channel in the country carried the same headline. Newspaper The Sky Girl. Flight attendant saves 180 lives after pilot suffers heart attack. Ayesha stood quietly beside the runway, looking up at the golden sky. Reporters surrounded her, asking, Weren't you scared? She smiled gently, eyes still on the clouds. Of course I was. But when life hangs between the sky and the ground, courage is the only thing that can land you safely. And from that day on, across airports, airwaves, and hearts, she was known by one name only. Sparkles the Sky Girl. Sparkles the Sky Girl.